Tunneling. You grab a spoon. You hide the dirt in your pants. You chip away for years at a concrete wall while guards walk past every night. It sounds absurd, and yet it works. Andy Dufresne did it in the movie The Shawshank Redemption, but the real version is even better. In 1962, 3 inmates at Alcatraz spent months digging through deteriorated concrete with sharpened spoons and a homemade drill built from a stolen vacuum motor. They left behind papier-mâché heads in their beds with real human hair. Guards didn't notice until morning. In World War II, 76 Allied POWs tunneled out of Stalag Luft 3, using 3 separate tunnels codenamed Tom, Dick, and Harry, which ran 336 feet. Tunneling requires patience, ingenuity, and somewhere to hide the evidence. Most people can't manage all 3. These men did. Disguise. You don't break out. You walk out as someone else. The beauty of disguise is that it weaponizes the most basic human flaw. People see what they expect to see. In 1988, convicted murderer Clarence Anglin simply walked out of an Alabama prison dressed as a woman, wig and all, after a visit from a female accomplice. He walked right past the guards. In 2000, a group of prisoners in Belgium ordered pizza to the prison. When the delivery driver left, one inmate walked out wearing his jacket and hat. Guards waved him through. Nobody questioned the pizza guy leaving. A disguise takes advantage of your routine. When everything looks normal, the brain stops asking questions. Hiding. If you can't walk out looking like someone else, try disappearing inside something else entirely. The logic is simple. Things go in and out of prisons every day. Laundry, garbage, food shipments, supply trucks. Get inside one of those things and you leave with it. In 2000, convicted killer Robert Shepard smuggled himself out of a Texas prison by hiding inside a large plastic container used for industrial laundry. He survived the ride. He was caught later, but the exit worked. The vulnerability is obvious. Prisons process thousands of items. Nobody checks everything. If you can compress yourself into the right space at the right moment, the system carries you out. Climbing. Walls exist to keep people in. Ropes, bedsheet ladders, and sheer desperation exist to overcome them. The methodology is ancient and embarrassingly straightforward. You get something to grab, something to climb, and you go over. In 2010, 2 inmates at a Texas facility fashioned a 30-foot rope from torn bedsheets, threw a makeshift grappling hook over the fence, and scaled the perimeter wall during a window between guard rotations. Timing is everything. Cameras have blind spots. Guard rotations have gaps. The wall is fixed, the schedule isn't. Find the gap, move fast, and gravity becomes your only real obstacle. Bribery. Some escapes don't require a rope or a tunnel. They require the right conversation with the right person and enough cash to make it interesting. El Chapo built an escape empire on bribery. His 2015 escape from Altiplano, Mexico's highest security prison, involved a mile-long tunnel built directly into his cell's shower floor. That kind of construction doesn't happen without cooperation from inside. Dozens of officials were allegedly on payroll. Bribery turns the security system against itself. Guards become accomplices. Schedules get adjusted. Cameras malfunction. When money flows to the right hands, the walls stop doing their job. The warden can build a better prison. He can't always build better people. Helicopter. This one sounds like a movie. It isn't. In 1986, a hijacked helicopter landed in the yard of Mountjoy Prison in Dublin, Ireland. 3 IRA prisoners climbed aboard and were gone before guards could respond. France has been hit so many times by helicopter escapes, including convicted gangster Redouane Fade in 2018, extracted by armed men from a prison courtyard in under 3 minutes, that French authorities had to install anti-helicopter nets over prison yards. That's not a metaphor, actual nets, strung over actual prisons, because the helicopter problem became that persistent. When your security threat is airborne, fences are irrelevant. Impersonation. Different from disguise. This is about paperwork, not costume. You don't change how you look, you change who the system thinks you are. In 2009, A convicted murderer in Georgia was released from prison because someone filed fraudulent paperwork claiming he was a different inmate whose sentence had ended. He walked out legally, on paper. The prison released him. Impersonation exploits bureaucracy. Systems built on documents can be fooled by documents. When the paperwork says you're free, the door opens. Nobody checks your face against a file photo when everything else looks right. Medical transfer. Maximum security prisons are hard to escape. Less secure medical facilities are not. The strategic move is to get transferred somewhere softer, then walk. In 2025 alone, inmates successfully did this in Ohio, Georgia, and North Carolina. They fled when they weren't secured in a wheelchair, or when they were at an orthopedic clinic, or at a hospital with lax security. Medical transfers create unavoidable gaps in security. You have to move people. Every movement is a vulnerability, and there will always be people to exploit it. Riots. A prison riot is chaos, and chaos is cover. When guards are overwhelmed, outnumbered, and focused on survival, the perimeter gets less attention. Multiple escapes throughout history have occurred not because anyone planned a clever exit, but because a riot opened a door and someone ran through it. In 1971, the Attica prison riot in New York resulted in a breakdown of institutional control so complete that the facility essentially ceased to function for days. Order collapsed. When order collapses, the walls are just walls. They don't enforce themselves. Riots aren't usually organized around an escape. But opportunists understand that someone else's chaos is their window. Inside help. The most reliable escape tool isn't a tunnel or a helicopter. It's a person on the other side of the door who's willing to open it. In 2015, 2 convicted killers escaped from Clinton Correctional Facility in New York after prison worker Joyce Mitchell smuggled them hacksaw blades, chisels, and drill bits hidden inside frozen meat. She was supposed to be their getaway driver. She got cold feet, they got caught. But they made it out of their cells, through walls, and into the open with tools delivered by someone they'd spent months cultivating. Inside help removes the hardest part of escape, the physical barrier. When someone hands you the tools, the prison's security becomes theater. Long con. Michael Scofield tattooed the prison blueprints onto his body. That's from the TV show Prison Break. But the principle is real. Some escapes take months of patient planning, relationship building, and systematic manipulation of every variable. The most successful escapes in history weren't spontaneous. They were engineered. The Great Escape from Stalag Luft 3 took over a year of preparation involving 600 prisoners in coordinated roles: forgers, tailors, engineers, lookouts. Every element was planned in sequence. Long cons don't rely on a single moment of luck. They create conditions where success becomes inevitable. Patience is the weapon. Time is the resource. And most institutions aren't built to defend against someone who's willing to spend a year or more doing all that work. Transport. The most dangerous moment for any prisoner isn't inside the facility. It's in transit. Moving between a prison and a courthouse, a hospital, or another institution introduces variables that the system can't fully control. Different vehicles, different roads, different personnel, unfamiliar environments. In 2005, Brian Nichols overpowered a deputy in an Atlanta courthouse bathroom, took her weapon, and walked out of the building amid a full lockdown. In 1995, 6 prisoners escaped during a transport van breakdown in Florida by overpowering a single guard. Transit is a gap, and gaps get exploited. Swimming. Alcatraz was considered inescapable partly because of the water surrounding it. Freezing temperatures, brutal currents, sharks. Nobody could survive the swim. Except in June 1962, Frank Morris and brothers John and Clarence Anglin made it out of their cells using the same stolen vacuum motor drill from the tunnel story, climbed to the roof, and likely inflated a raft made from 50 stitched-together raincoats. Their bodies were never found. The FBI officially says they drowned. Several independent analyses say they made it. Fake death. Stage your own death. Have someone remove the body, disappear. It sounds like fiction because it almost never works in practice. But it has been attempted. In 2008, a British prisoner named John Darwin famously faked his death in a canoe accident and lived in hiding for 5 years before turning himself in. He wasn't escaping prison at the time, but the mechanism is identical. Convince the system you no longer exist, and the system stops looking for you. The challenge is sustaining the lie. The world is smaller than it used to be. Cameras are everywhere. Digital records don't forget. Faking death is the ultimate long con, and the evidence suggests almost nobody can maintain it forever.